Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rescue World podcast. For all of you that are tuning in, we have a very, very, very special episode today that you're going to want to lock in for. So go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, share button. Get this out to all your people. We're excited for this conversation. This conversation is really special to me. Years ago, I connected with Apostle Sherman on a mission trip to LA from Tulsa. And honestly, something just like clicked with us. And I went through a really hard time, and I reached out because I needed some spiritual fathering and guidance in my life, and ended up moving across the country to come and submit my leadership to him and learn all that I can from him. And so I'm excited for our conversation today. I'm gonna use this as like a personal gift to me, and we're gonna talk about his book and all the great things that he's doing. And so welcome, Apostle Sherman. Thanks so much for being on our podcast.
This is freaking amazing. So thank you for allowing me to be with you today. And I just got to say how proud I am of you and Erica and the work that you guys are doing. It is flat out amazing. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And conversation is going to be a lot of fun because obviously you got a new book. We're gonna get into that. But what I love is like this book just makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like this isn't like, you know, some people are like, oh, I want to write a book. I got to find a topic. Like you've been living this since I met you. Like that was our first connection was I needed a father, a spiritual father, somebody to cover me, somebody to walk with me, somebody to come alongside of me. And you said yes, actually from a distance. Where did that like father's heart come from for you? Like how did that start? When did you realize like, I'm going to help to father people who really need a father in their life?
I think it started with the lack of one.
Okay.
And so, you know, my father was in my life, but he just was not consistent. You know, my mother and my father's marriage fell apart. And so he was really at a distance. And I remember one time talking to the Lord about it and just kind of sorting through the abandonment I felt in my heart, the rejection I felt in my heart. One of the many things that he told me was that, hey, I want you to be what you're looking for. Like you're looking for this in all of these places, but I want you to be one that helps to strengthen others and help walk with others and help them to be able to be formed into the purpose and destiny they have for their lives. And so really out of all of the hats that I get to wear, my outside of husband, my most favorite hat is that of father. It brings me the most fulfillment, but it can also be the thing that brings me a lot of pain.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm sure I've caused some gray hairs along the way.
But the joy of it all has been, it supersedes any of, you know, the adventurous things that I get to experience during the journey.
Well, let's kind of double click on the pain part of this for a second. And really primarily because, you know, spiritual fathering is such a fad right now, I think.
Oh my God,
I mean, everybody, you know, wants a father, calls himself a father. And really sometimes with no context, with no real validity to the statement. I've heard people say like, people online are my spiritual fathers. Like it's there's a lot. And it doesn't mean you can't learn. I mean, the Apostle Paul says we have many teachers, right? But we don't have not many fathers. It gets hard though. When you're in close proximity with somebody and you're not just seeing their gifts, you're not just seeing their good stuff, you're seeing the mess, you're seeing the fall. I mean, literally my story, and I talk about it pretty publicly. I had a pretty big fall when I was under your leadership, and the way you responded to that changed my life, and in a very real way. When you should have, I'm gonna get emotional here, but
I'm about to say you about to make me cry on this daggone podcast.
Well, I'm aware of how church leaders treat falls today. By every stretch of the imagination, you could have done the same thing. Hey, you're done. You know, let's figure something else out. It just didn't work. You didn't do that. You actually, my experience of it was you pulled me closer. You were like, okay, here's what happened. Let's navigate it a little bit. But then like, hey, come with me to these campuses, or come like be my driver for now, so that we can spend some time together. And like, that radically changed my life. Wow. I needed that. But I don't think people respond to falls that way. They don't respond to brokenness that way, which is why I don't think people are fathers like they call themselves fathers. But you've been a legitimate father to me. And I'm really grateful.
Thank you.
How do you respond to the mess the way you have? Because I'm one of many also,
Yes.
and I know your other sons and daughters too. So like, you know, I feel like I've been like a Peter type, and yet still,
Yes.
you know, there's a few of us out
I
there.
understand.
And how do you respond like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I have to remember me. Like, people see folks on stages or ministering to groups of people and doing all of these things. Unfortunately, a lot of us as Christian leaders, we're not vulnerable and honest about our journey at all. And we make it seem as if like we somehow just appeared, you know, into whatever this greatness is. And so a lot of times when people are watching us from afar, they feel like I could never attain to this perfection. I could never attain to this idea that we're putting out there.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've always done is go through the journey of remembering me, like remembering my journey, the things that I've processed through, and how messed up I have been. I tell people all the time, I'm as jacked up as the next person. I just keep myself on the altar, and allow the Lord to process with it. And so from that, I think that created a certain level of humility in me.
Yeah.
Whereas I made a decision that, hey, no matter how much stuff is happening in and around me and happening in the lives of those that I love, I don't ever want to approach them like, you know, you're thrown away, God is done with you, because all I see in Christ is redemption.
Yeah.
It's the beautiful story
Yeah.
of no matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done, Christ came to redeem every part of your journey.
Yeah.
And so being able to remember me, live into the life that Christ brings, that redemption, and just says, hey, I want to bring you on that journey. And I haven't always gotten it right. You know, I do the journey. I feel like some of the stuff that we say to do when people are going through things like, or, you know, they're processing through some type of fall, you know, some people are like, hey, you can't do any kind of ministry. I get front facing stuff, but I feel like sometimes when we leave people to say, hey, you go over here and sit in the corner, you're leaving them to their thoughts. You're leaving them alone.
Yeah.
You're not traveling with them in it. And a lot of times that's what we do. We say, hey, you just go sit over there, and nobody's over there with you though.
Yeah.
So now you're becoming more depressed because you feel like you're not useful, because a lot of us who are in leadership, we see our worth with what we do.
Yeah.
And so then you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And so you're out there. And so I've through the years, I've matured in many ways on even how I approach those things. And but my biggest thing that goes across it always is, I'm not dropping you. I'm not kicking you away. Let's be in this together.
Oh, I love that. I've had a lot of ministry mistakes in the years, but prior to even me moving to California, one of the biggest ones was I had a young Timothy who was on the dance team with me and like just really gifted.
Did y'all know that he used to dance?
I had a whole dance team back in the day. It was a whole thing. This kid was sharp. And our dance team started to get platformed a little bit, and in our group we were like, hey, we got to just protect, like, you know, our integrity, what's happening. And we had a kind of a group like meeting. It was like, hey, we all may have to sacrifice things for the sake of like what we feel like God's up to here. And one of the things that was happening for him, there was a young lady that was, you know, involved with him, and we were like, man, she's probably not the best choice. And the biggest mistake I made was I gave him an ultimatum of saying like, hey, you can either choose her or you can dance. Wow. And he was so called to dance and lead and like just gifted, and yet he chose her. He's in prison today. Jesus. Went completely out. Now I've had a chance to, you know, restore our relationship and repent to him publicly. Like I'm, you know, I knew I dropped the ball on that, but just hearing how you respond to fall like that, I wish I knew that earlier on in ministry. I wish I knew that, well, number one, that people are broken, because oftentimes I feel like as a leader, I got on my high horse and I was like, well, my sin ain't their sin. And like, you know what I mean? And yeah, we're all jacked up. You say that. It's one of my favorite things you say all the time. Not only have you fathered people well, and you've done really well with like family outside of, you know, in church context and outside of your natural family, you've been an amazing family man. Like, and it's cool to say that because I actually lived with you for a while. So like, it's not like, you see from the outside looking in and like, oh yeah, I like how he is with his family. But no, like how you've been with your natural family. I don't feel like they ever felt dropped.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they ever felt like, not a part of what you were doing, and like you were very present with them. How was that juggling that? Like, how did you learn to do that? Because I'm a new dad now, and one of my fears is that I'm not gonna juggle well.
Yeah.
Is that like there are moments that I do gotta go and live the call and go and do what the Lord has for sure called us to do. And yet I still want to be a very present dad. What's that been like for you? And how you've been able to, like, I feel like do both well, at least from my vantage point.
Yeah. Dr. Jaquette, my wife, and I made a statement when we first got married, made a commitment to each other and to God, that we would not sacrifice our children on the altar of ministry and leadership. Like, we made a commitment, like they would never become secondary. So it doesn't matter where I'm at, what I'm doing. If that means coming back on a plane, if that means whatever it means, to make sure that we're there for them.
Yeah.
Because I truly understand that they were our first ministry. You know, I had a bit of a panic attack when Dr. J told me she was pregnant with my oldest, Makai, who happens to be here in the studio. And when she told me that, because I hadn't seen it, like, so how do you do something you haven't seen? And I remember Holy Spirit saying something to me that day and was like, hey, you know the one who knows everything. He's like, I know everything, and I will guide you and I will lead you into what it looks like to walk out fatherhood and to walk out being a husband. And so throughout this journey, I'm like, I told God that day, it was like, I don't want to ruin this life. Like, you're giving me this opportunity to steward somebody. Like, I don't want to jack this up. Like, and so I remember the Lord just saying, hey, just follow me. Like, submit your plans and your thoughts to me as you go. Don't build it based upon what you've seen, because I grew up in ministry. I grew, it's all I know from my childhood into my adulthood. I've always been a church boy. I've always been in some form of ministry since a kid. And so I've seen a lot of different examples. He told me, erase all of that. Let me lead you step by step. Submit to me what that looks like. Because I didn't want my kids to be the preacher's kids that's sitting on the front row, hating everything that was established. Hating everything that was done, because they felt like, what about me? And so part of how we did that journey is by taking our kids along with us, meaning our plans, our goals, family conversation. This is what we're building. This is what we're doing. What do you guys think of that? In certain ages, they don't care. They're like, I don't know. It sounds like all right. But still, we were purposeful of making sure we brought them on the journey and had these conversations with them. We changed our language. We didn't say we had to do anything. Because we never wanted our children to feel like God was making us do anything. So when they said, okay, it's time we get to go set up and break down at such and such campus, and then we're going to such and such place. And you remember the days when we had like 4 different campuses. I was going from spot to spot in one day. It's like, hey, you guys want to go? We can get snowballs and Temecula afterwards. Like, it's like, we could do all of these things. It's like taking them through the journey so they can know what's a part of it. So at the end of the day, they realize we're building this together. Now, my kids take sometimes more interest in things that I do in what we're building. They're 18. The twins are 14.
That's insane.
And then we have the 8-year-old and 5-year-old. And the 3 oldest, they take more interest sometimes in stuff that I'm even, like, hey, Dad, such. Like, they know everything that's happening around this whole thing. But because they were brought along the journey and say, let's build together. Let's do this together.
Love that. The other thought I had with that is, like, you've integrated, I feel like, both worlds really well. And you've always kind of opened your home, allowed people to come, live with you, but even beyond that, like meetings at the house and really pouring into a key group of leaders around your family and they're involved. And I feel like in ministry, oftentimes there's this like concept of like, my church life and then my like family life, right? And I feel like that's a dangerous concept to have. Like I can't make up a way that that's a good thing. Like, to live this like double life in some way, even if it's both good stuff, like still feels like a double life. Why, how, like where'd the idea come from to like integrate it all the way that you do? Cause it's actually been a really cool, thing to see played out. That it's not, and I feel like you can unplug if you need to, and you know how to like get away when you need to, and yet still people are around all the time. And so like, yeah, where'd that come from?
So, excuse me, I know a lot of people believe that, and I'm not against it, that Jesus' first miracle was turning water to wine. I kind of disagree. I think the first miracle we see is Jesus taking this group of guys that are from all of these encounters and these experiences and uniting them as a family. One of the first things he did was, the scriptures say, and he took them and showed them where he lived, where he was staying. And to me, that became a model for me. Like, Jesus didn't just say, let me teach you and train you.
It's good.
He showed them where he lived. He brought them into his personal space.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like you can truly learn from me by just watching me preach or teach or do a training or developing leaders. And
you can learn a lot from watching you preach and teach. And just want to say that.
But I think it's, you seeing, these interactions. So you see, me and my wife interacting. You've probably experienced this before. Like, we're really candid. And so we, people
very.
So people would like try to walk away from conversations where we would be having heated discussions, and we'd be like, no, stand right here. And you don't have to go away, because I want you not to only see us when we're smiling at each other. You need to know when it comes down to when you have to process through something later, to have an example on how to healthily process through something. And so that's seeing Jesus, just the way that he brought them in and out of his journey. And yes, he even slipped away, but then he also brought them along each step of the way. And we felt like it was a model that was necessary. And in order to really forge together real family, that we had to show up like that. Now, it hasn't always been easy. Like you bringing people into your own space, you have to really be careful with that. You're taking risk. You have to be sure that these kind of people can be around, in your home. But my kids probably haven't really known much of the life where somebody wasn't staying with us. That we weren't taking someone into our home.
Sure.
That we weren't having meetings in our home. Right now, at our campus in Texas, our roof is collapsed in. They estimated on January 27th about 50,000 pounds of ice came upon our roof in an ice storm and caved it in.
Dang.
And so we don't have a roof. About a month later, 82 miles per hour winds came. And so even though they had demoed the roof, we had some exterior walls. The winds came, knocked the walls down.
Dang.
The walls knocked the power out of our entire facility. So even the part that we were using before, we cannot use anymore.
Oh, man.
And so, in essence, to some would say, we're homeless, as it relates to a church while we were restoring that. Yeah. So now I've even moved into having a lot more things, at our home. And it's interesting you bring this up. I was just talking about this in a message yesterday, and the Lord reminded me once again of the beautiful picture of the book of Acts. Yeah, they gathered in the temple. Man, but they were house to house.
Yeah, they were.
And there were beautiful things that happened in that house. Yeah. And they were connecting together in that house. And I feel like there's something that God wants to breathe on again, just with leaders across our nation and beyond. Like, hey, bring people into the journey with them. Let them see where you live.
Yeah.
Let them see how you handle hard times. Let them see. Don't try to hide your vulnerable places.
Yeah.
Allow that stuff to be seen, because that's what people grow from.
It's good.
And they learn from.
Yeah, one of our kind of mottos here is like that vulnerability is our secret sauce. Yeah. And I feel like I learned that from watching you, and just every season, highs, lows, good, bad, hard, you embraced like honesty. Yeah. You embraced vulnerability. Yeah. You were like, you didn't hide it. You didn't like, no, I'm good. Like you actually allowed people into the space. In family dynamics, I feel like sometimes that's hard to do. But beyond that, I think difficult conversations are really hard to have, right? And yet, again, I feel like you've modeled that really well. I have some memories of, honestly, one of my favorite meetings ever was a really hard meeting. And
I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, and I had never experienced like that, but it was almost like it forced people in a way to be honest, or don't feel how you're feeling. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And literally, just the whole setup was really incredible. Yeah. I feel like difficult conversations are hard for people to navigate. Yeah. What would you say to the leaders out there who need to have some difficult conversations, that need to lean in, whether it be in their family, in their leadership, with their church, with their pastors? Yeah. Because I feel like you've modeled the leaning into that really well. How would one go about doing that in the context of family or leadership?
Yeah, I think it's we have to start with realizing that it's necessary. First of all, like, it's not. We see it as an option. Yeah, it's not really an option if you want to be able to build with things not hidden in the dark. Like, you'll end up building something that looks like, oh, this is great success, even in family, leadership, or whatever. But if it's all this stuff in the background, in the dark, that's not out into the light, it can literally cause for the foundation of what you're building to be very unsettled. And so then when the winds come and all this stuff comes, that stuff's not going to last, because everybody was faking. Nobody was actually talking about what was what. Yeah. And so for me, I felt like it was too hard to wear all of these masks. It's too hard to do this. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to do that. Like, like, I used to have long hair for a moment, and I told them, I said, my hair is always down. I don't ever take it down. Like, I just live this life of just saying, hey, I don't want to work that hard. Like, in that, and having to put up two things. And so to me, it was important to me that whenever I see it, you bring it into the light so that we can be able to have those conversations and be open to being wrong. Because sometimes when we face difficult conversations, the people around the table, sometimes we assume that we have it right. Yeah. Our emotions are involved. Right. We, feel like, no, I know how I saw it. I know how I heard it. Yeah, you know how you heard it. Yeah. That doesn't mean that's really what was said. Yeah. Like, I've been in conversations where I've had people like repeat back to me what you heard me say. Yeah. And I'm like, I said nothing like that. Right. But that's how they heard it within themselves because of their filters and how they're processing. Yeah. But you got to be willing to wrestle a little bit. You got to be willing to box a little bit. But you got to have it if you want it to last. And I didn't get into any of this. Family, ministry, leadership, not to last. Yeah. Like, I got in this because I want legacy. Yeah. I want this. What God has blessed my wife and I to build to last far beyond our lives. Yeah. When I'm gone, I want this to live. And it can't if we don't have the heart. Most people don't want to, be honest. Yeah. Like I say all the time, don't get offended, listeners and viewers, but like, the Church of America is full of liars. Like, well, we just lie a lot. And we try to say that it's love too. We put love on it. I like our secrecy. Yeah. Oh, I didn't tell you because I love you. Or I didn't. But no, like, real love, it's like, we're gonna come out here and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna address it. Healthy confrontation. Yeah. Because confrontation isn't yelling. No. It's not screaming at people. Yeah. It's taking two spaces, opinions, stances, and making them face each other and say, let's talk about this. Yeah. Let's discuss this. Yeah. And I feel like, when we do that, then things can come to light. I'm dealing with an issue right now that has that model. I did it like literally this weekend, like having people know we're gonna have conversations. Let's talk. Like, no, let's bring it all into light. Yeah. Because if we don't do that, man, there's other people too that get connected. For your parents, your children get connected with that if you're not processing through it correctly. If your leaders, your organization is going to see that, because as you know, culture is not what we say. It's not. Culture is actions. It's what we do. And those actions and those things that we do begin to establish that culture. And you know that Dr. Sam Chan said all the time that your culture will eat your vision for lunch. Yeah. Like, you can have this amazing vision that I want to go do this, and that. But if the culture sucks, and if you want to build a strong culture, you have to embrace healthy confrontation, healthy conversations, and bringing things to light.
Now, love that because on the Church of America is full of liars. I quote that one, and because even at the very like minimal, how you doing, blessed, like that alone is like exhibit A of like we're not always honest with where we really are, what we're really processing. But how does one go from that into like a culture of honesty, a culture of being vulnerable and real and like willing to go there? Because I feel like I mean I was a bona fide liar under your leadership for a long time, and for me the carpet had to be pulled from me. Like I probably would have never like unless it came out the way it did. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Lord could have added another way, but like I don't know that I had it in me at that moment in time to live a life of honesty because I was scared, because I was I knew what could happen. All of those things. So how does one go from being a liar to like living this life of honesty, vulnerability, and transparency?
Yeah, that's a really amazing question. I think it's in this, I don't say this to sound super deep. It's going to start with us laying our heart on the altar with the Lord.
Okay.
And trusting him. You know, a lot of times why we don't trust leaders is because we don't trust God.
Oh, yes. And
It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we kind of lie to God.
Yeah.
Even by the way we pretend when we come in prayer and when we're having conversation with him, we kind of lie to God and not allow him to speak to those spaces. So I think the first space is honesty with him is going to lead you to being honest with everybody else. And so coming and saying, hey, here's my true broken areas. Here's the things that I'm struggling with. Here are the things I'm scared, you know, like this year along, I've told the Lord, like, I say, hey, you can take me off your strong soldier list. It's okay.
Yeah.
I've been on it a while. You can take me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you trust me, but it's all right. It's enough.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I've had to have conversations with God to say, hey, I'm literally scared. Like, I'm facing things that I've never had to face before. And I've been in this for quite some time now, but Lord, I'm scared. And I had to put that out there for him to be able to minister to those spaces in me, to help me to be able to continue and to be able to go there. So because I was honest with him, then I was able to be honest with my wife. And of course, as a husband, you want to be the one,
Sure.
we got this. We're going to be okay. But I have to be honest with my wife, I'm scared. Like this is wild. Like some of this stuff that is going on, like how in the heck are we going to process through it? Which then allowed me to be also honest with the leadership over my life and say, hey, I'm having some tough places. I need you guys to know this so that you can be able to speak into that, hold me accountable that I don't operate in fear, that I don't function in it. But if I had not gone to him first, present to him and say, Lord, create in me a clean heart.
Yeah.
Like I want to be, and a lot of times we say that, hear that language, we think sin. No, it's just like anything in here that's not supposed to be here, like fear, anxiety, all of that.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, I bring that to you. And I think it starts from there, but then I think there is also a leadership responsibility. It matters for us how we respond to people's vulnerability and honesty. That helps to create an environment where it feels safe to say something.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times if it doesn't feel safe, people are not going to share it because they feel like whatever's going to happen on the other end of it.
Yeah.
But continuing to do it and create that environment where it's like, okay, it's okay for you to be able to say what you're really feeling, where you're really at.
Yeah. And such a hard line to walk though, right? Because then you're hearing honesty and your sometimes initial reaction is not safety. It's anger. It's like, like what the heck? And like, but
why didn't you tell me this already?
Exactly. and yet still like a very important line to walk to be able to create the space where people are willing to come back again and to share and be honest. And in leadership, we do some trainings here, and I've had a chance to do them in some companies. But in leadership, we see what we will call like cordial hypocrisy all the time. And cordial hypocrisy is it's withholding out of fear or loyalty. So I'm withholding my honesty. I'm withholding my thoughts. I'm withholding my my opinions, my feedback, even because of what I'm afraid of how you might respond, what you might do with it. Or I'm also like loyal, and I think I'm actually doing you a favor by withholding. And I have not seen anything ruin an organization faster than cordial hypocrisy. And this also shows up in families. Like I feel like for me, it started in my family, right? It was like we were cordial. We were actually really good on the outside, and but there was no like real, like honest, like deep conversations. What would you say to the organizational leaders out there, the youth pastors out there, who've been living in this like cordial hypocrisy space, and they have not had the space to be honest, or they've been afraid, or they feel like they're being loyal to their pastor, so they're not like not even willing to go say something to them. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, welcome to my life. If you love them, say something.
It's good.
Like seriously, if you love and forget this them, if you love the work that God has called for you all to build together, you've got to say something. Like if not, you're putting other lives at risk. And I know and it may sound massive, but even with the smallest of things, because you're leaving a crack, a doorway to potential offense, to a culture of anger and frustration that's happening, gossip, all of those things. So if if you see something, say something, and have those conversations and say, hey, this is what I'm sensing. And if we do it all in submitting to one another, again, not assuming that we have it right.
It's good.
Not assuming that my perspective is the exact perspective.
Right.
But if you want to, this is all about rescuing, right?
Yeah.
If you want to make sure that we're able to continue the work of rescuing lives, and you want to make sure that you can rescue your own organization, it demands you do it. And sometimes you got to do it trembling.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You got to do it while you're like, dang, I'm sweating all up under my arms.
Yeah.
Like you got to do it where you're like, this is, I don't know, like they may not want me in this position anymore.
Yeah.
May not want me to, you have to do it with all of that and make a commitment that the work, the family, the organization is what's primary and important more than it is the space of feeling like, I want them to know that I'm for them. If you're for me, tell me.
Wow. We can go all day on this, like, because I've learned and gleaned quite a bit from you over the years of just the willingness to go there and have the conversations that are necessary. But you got a book out now. It's not your first book, so let's be really clear about that. You've been an author for a long time, so I just want to tell the world that. But you also you're in stores now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is so fun to watch. What was this book journey like for you? How did this one come about? I would love to just hear a little bit
I
about
really
the book.
feel like this one, all of the books up to now were self-published, but this book I felt like was supposed to partner with a publisher, and it's wild. All of it's been like God opening door after door, connection after connection. It's been wild the way it's all come together. And when they asked me which direction do you want to go, with the first one, I immediately knew this is the book. This is the one that I want to start my first publishing journey with a publisher. And this book is everything to me because of the fact I really feel like this is my life's message. I really feel like what I want to be remembered for more than anything is the importance of the family unit. And the Lord spoke to me years ago before I even moved to Texas. I was a guest speaker in the area. I was in downtown Dallas in a hotel room, and the Lord spoke to me and said, hey, Sherman, like the next move of God that you're going to see in America and in the nations is going to start at the epicenter of family. And he said, I want you to herald a message to everybody you possibly can to shore up and heal their families so that they can be a part of seeing streets, cities, regions, states, nations impacted and changed, it's going to start there.
Wow.
Healthy families will transform everything that we see around. And so when I heard that, I was like, okay, God. And so to me, it was amazing to be able to share my journey. I come from brokenness in family to walking into a healthy family, not perfect, but healthy.
Yeah.
And going through the journey, I've helped a lot of families in my ministry journey and leadership career, been able to really help a lot of families. So inside of the book, I get to share with people not only stories, not only revelation God has given me, but practical things that you can apply today to fight for your family. I tell people some families are on mountaintops right now. Not everybody's in a valley.
Sure.
Some people are in valleys, but every family is due an upgrade. I don't care where you are.
Yeah.
I don't care how excellent or beautiful that family is. All of us are due an upgrade. And so I'm excited to see how it's already impacting so many lives. At the point of this recording, we, for 9 weeks, were number 2 in our category on Amazon.
Awesome.
It's just cool to see it already, touching lives.
Well, I love the message, right? We work with a lot of broken families, and I think there's probably a lot of people on here that may follow us because of the work we do. And what about when families are in shambles? And because that's always been one of my wrestles with family messages, and I believe in family restoration. Obviously, you know my story, and I've seen it in my own family. And yet still, we're in some of these meetings with these kids, and I mean, it is a mess, and it feels very hopeless.
Oh my God,
right?
yes.
Like, how does somebody with an extremely broken family begin the journey of fighting for healing in their family?
I think the first thing is you have to believe it's possible.
Okay.
And I know it's a lot of wild stories.
Sure.
I, like you, have heard them all, and there's a lot of pain that people have experienced. But we have to have hope, and that hope is in Jesus.
Yeah.
No family is past redemption.
Yeah.
There's not one. And, we've been on tour and going places, and that's where I start with people. It's like, there is not a family in this room. And people look like, if you knew the story, I'm like, there is not one that's past redemption. Now, it will look different what that redemption looks like or how it manifests. It doesn't mean that tomorrow everybody's going to be around the table hugging. Yeah. But there is what I like to call a purpose or a prophetic destiny over every family. And there's something that God's called for it to design for it to do. And a lot of times we focus on the broken pieces or generational patterns more than we do the generational blessings. Yeah. Like being able to go on a journey to find out, God, what is the plan that you have for my family? So that I can contend for that and I can step into that if no one else in this family unit makes a decision that they want to be a part of the change, I can take the first step. Yeah. Quick story. Me and my father, we were not together. We were not connected. But my father, he functioned in so much chaos. The Lord told me when I was 18, if you want to see restoration in your family, I want you to take the first step. And I said, why? I'm a child. Yeah. He's the father. Yep. He said, if you want to see restoration, take the first step. I began to honor my dad, not lie about him, find a treasure in him. And when I found the treasure, I began to highlight that treasure, talk to him, connect with him. That began to be a journey that opened up new levels of conversation, real discussion about the things that we had experienced to move in that place. So first, believe it's possible. Yeah. Secondarily, say, I'm not going to put the responsibility, and I know that's hard to even tell a teenager or to tell a child that, but you can still help them to understand
for sure.
You can be the difference maker.
1000%.
Yeah, you can be the one. And so making a decision, I'm going to be the one that steps out and be different and start that journey. It's one step at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. One of our thoughts here is like, we know that people have been victimized a lot and in the context of families. And yet we really do advocate for them not to remain a victim. Like, because being victimized in a moment, a season, in a situation does not mean that has to be your overarching narrative. Yeah. And so there can be some radical ownership, even on the student side, on, whoever even, is the victim of whatever may have happened. So I resonate a lot with what you're saying because it was like, you could be the first one. You could be, that's my story, but like you could be the one to go first that can ultimately see your family begin to change. Like radically. Yeah. where do you want this to go? What do you want to see, with the book, with,
My hope is that it will spark little fires everywhere.
Okay.
My hope is that families would begin to dive in this together, that they would begin to see God really visit them in their homes. And through that, you would be able to see cultural transformation and things begin to happen because of what's ignited inside of these families. And so I've been praying, like, every place this book goes, God, like, start a fire in the hearts of families and see them connect and be restored. And so, as we go on later, we hope to get some curriculum going and different things of that nature to even, extend it more. But those little fires is what matters to me.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm excited for, obviously, the revivals that are probably going to take place, not probably, that are going to take place in family units. And you're on a book tour right now, so you're all over the place. Where can people go pick up the book at?
So they can go any place where books are sold, but if you want to find one of the outlets, you can go to familymattersbook.com.
Okay.
Go to familymattersbook.com and give you a little bit more information about the book, and then show you everywhere that it's sold.
Now, your church has gone through quite a bit last year. How can people support the ministry, the church?
Thank you for asking that. So, we talked a little bit about the disaster relief that we're in right now and looking to rebuild and restore. There's a site they can go to that says helpkingdomculture.com.
Okay.
That's simple. And if you want to help us to keep changing the world, it's 16 years in. This is city number 7 that we've been able to impact. And we believe that it's just an opportunity to God to really show a story of hope and restoration. So if people want to be a part of that, we would love for you to do it.
Well, I would encourage you to go be a part of that. I feel like, Rescue a Generation is here because of your ability to lean into a conversation with me when I needed it the most. We would not be here 10 years later if I didn't sit under your leadership when I did. And so just really grateful for that. And go support, go buy the book. We're definitely going to get a few copies and be able to share the message out there. I'm grateful for you, for Dr. Jaquette, my wife, our son. We're really, really grateful for you. Thank you.
I cannot say enough how proud I am of you, Erica, and what you guys are literally, this is not inflated. You guys have impacted thousands of lives, man. And so your yes matters, it counts, and it's being felt in this region and around the country.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, if you're watching out there, quick commercial. We just launched our clothing line, rescueagen.com. Go check it out. Support the mission. Every merch you buy goes directly back into the work we're doing here at Rescue a Generation. Would love for you to check that out. And then like, subscribe, share, follow, all those fun things. And until next time, thank you so much for being a rescuer in your world. We really appreciate you. And we'll see y'all soon.